What's up, Coug fans? We got a great episode for you today. It's not just a football podcast, it's also a baseball podcast. We have on the head coach of Washington State University Baseball, Nathan Choate, to talk through the upcoming 2025 season for the Cougars. There's a lot of changes this season. WSU is moving to the Mountain West for baseball. There's the new indoor facility, some upgrades at Bailey-brayton Field. So make sure to stay tuned in to the end. And the sponsor of today's podcast is, of course, Black Label Supplements, a third-party tested, athlete-approved supplement company based here in the Pacific Northwest. Make sure to reach out to blacklabelsupplements.com. Use code CouchGM for 15% off your order. And if you or someone you know is thinking of buying, selling, or refinancing on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, or Arizona, make sure to reach out to myself, Connor Webb, the Couch GM. I'm actually a mortgage broker during the day. I'd appreciate the opportunity to help you Coug fans with your mortgage financing.
Yeah, in my day job, I'm also a solar consultant. If that energy bill is climbing in on you guys and you want to get some sort of consultation in terms of what solar could possibly do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me as well. I work for New Sun Power. And Connor and I are rocking our minted 2015 Cougar jerseys that we were given to by former head coach Marty Lease when we were starting up the club baseball program on campus. That is still going strong. So we're going to maybe need to get some new swag from Coach, huh? If you guys have any ideas, questions, comments, please reach out to us about who you'd like on the podcast, whether it be via the baseball program, basketball program, football program, or any women's program. Please let us know. With that being said, let's get into our interview with WSU head baseball coach, Nathan Choate.
All right, Coach Choate, thank you for joining us on the podcast. Excited to hear a bit inside of, Washington State University baseball. Let's start with a little introduction to yourself. I know this is your second year at Washington State, but can you just walk us through your journey of making it out to the Palouse?
Yeah, I'm from Southern California originally. I played at a junior college there, played at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. And have worked at a lot of schools in Southern California and Arizona, UC Irvine, UC Riverside, Grand Canyon, University of San Diego, Loyola Marymount, and then was the head coach at Loyola Marymount before I got offered the job up here. And, talked to my wife and the 4 kids and wanted to move up to the Palouse and become the baseball coach up here.
How are you liking it out there so far? I know it's a bit of a difference going from California up to Eastern Washington, but it's a unique place out there.
Yeah, it's a really neat place. And, I've worked at so many different Division I schools. The passion of the fan base is something that really drew me here. Like I said, when you win, it's a great thing. When you lose, it's challenging at times, but I think that's a good thing. It means people care. But just the community, the town, it's a great place to raise a family. But just the support that the university has within Pullman and on the Palouse is pretty cool.
Obviously, moving to the Mountain West Conference this year, the preseason poll came out yesterday. They have you guys third place, one first place vote. What's kind of the challenge for you guys as a team, as a staff, now going to a different conference, different teams? Obviously, San Diego State, a big time program in the Mountain West as well as Nevada.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit different, but we have 24 new players. So on the coaches poll, wherever they ranked us, unless they have some more insight on our team than I do, I don't think anybody knows anything about our team because we're so new. And a lot of our players haven't played in the pack. But I do think, obviously, San Diego State, Fresno State's a great program. UNLV's done a good job. They're a good program. So it'll be a good challenge. But I think it's a good chance for our program to kind of reset. The last few years, we've quite honestly ended in the bottom of the Pac-12. And I think maybe a change of scenery can be a good thing for our culture in expecting to win. But we just have a lot of new players. So the coaches poll and all that stuff, as much respect as I have for all the coaches in the conference, we got 24 new players. I still am trying to figure out our lineup on opening day. So unless they have some info that I don't know, we'll see how the season plays out.
Speaking of all these new players, Coach, we were hoping you could take us maybe position by position, go through outfield, infield, catcher, starting, who the starting options and the bullpen. So, whatever position group you want to start with, be my guest.
Yeah. So let's start on the mound because I think if you're going to have a good program and a good team, you need pitch. So, we have Griffin Smith, who's a junior college All-American. So he came in, and then we have Luke Myers. He's a junior college All-American. We have Trevor Stowe. He's a junior college All-American. 3 of those guys, probably Luke and Griffin, are going to compete for starting roles on the weekend. Nick Lewis, who is a left-handed pitcher that redshirted last year, He's going to be in the mix to start. Ingmar Huzatin is from the Netherlands. He was at Los Medanos Junior College, so he's going to be in the mix as well to possibly start. Troy Shepard, left-handed pitcher from Spokane Falls, and Jake Tedesco, a left-handed pitcher that was in the portal that we got from Dayton. Good arm, plus stuff. And so those guys are kind of in the mix to start. At the back end, probably Trevor Stowe will be in the mix. Caden Wickersham, who was here last year, we'll see some innings. And then obviously we'll filter in Bryce Chambers will be in some middle relief. He was at a junior college down in Texas. So like I said, on the mound, we only have 2 returning pitchers that have pitched in a game at the Division I level. So it's a brand new cast of characters on the mound, but it's a lot of guys that are highly competitive, that throw a lot of strikes, that'll change speeds, that command their fastball. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not the most patient guy when it's ball 1, ball 2, ball to the backstop. I don't mind if we hit a guy on a fastball in, if we're challenging guys, but I really have a problem with us not attacking the strike zone. So I think we'll definitely throw a lot more strikes this year. From there, let's go defensively. Will Cresswell, who's a senior, is going to see a lot of time behind the plate, has a ton of experience. Noah Thine, who's a junior college player from DMAC, Des Moines Area Community College, left-handed hitter, just a tough, gritty baseball player, was a wrestler in high school as well. He's going to catch some as well. And then moving over to first base, Ryan Shawnsby and Jack Weiss are going to compete over there. Ryan's a left-handed hitting first baseman. Jack was playing some third base and some shortstop for us last year. Those guys are going to kind of fight it out at first base. Second base, we have Ollie Obenauer, who's a freshman from Northern California that's going to fight for some time. Rico Longo, who could play either some third base or second base. He's a junior college guy from Spokane Falls. Shortstop right now, if the season were to start, which it's starting here in about a week, we got Griffin Roy, who's probably going to be our opening day shortstop. He was from Cloud County Community College, just a gritty baseball player. Third base, we got Kyler Northrup from Montana, true freshman. Him and Rico are going to split some time over at third base. A really talented kid from Montana, just needs to do it at this level. And then from the outfield, we have Max Hartman, who was named preseason all-conference. We got Logan Johnstone, who's going to play some right field for us. And then Eli Kennel and Cole Watterson are also going to play out there. Cole is a really good defender, a plus runner, stole over 50 bases in the NWAC, the junior college level last year. And then Eli Kennel, who originally started his career at Oregon State, left-handed hitter with some juice. He's going to compete in that spot as well. And so, Jonah Scholl may play some outfield as well and mix in there. And we can always run an infielder out there if we need to. I think we have some more infield depth than we've had in the past where it's not so outfield heavy.
You take a look at guys like Hartman and Johnston. Are those two going to be kind of mainly in the middle of the order for you this year, or how do you expect them in the
Yeah, Hartman led off last year, and so I think he'll hit at the top of the lineup again this year. Johnstone's going to be in the mix. He really played a lot for us late in the season last year. I think he's going to hit in the middle of the lineup. He's got a pretty good feel for hitting. Got good bat to ball skills. Left-handed hitter here at Bailey-Brayton with the wind blowing out to right field. Trying to backspin a ball to the pull side is a good thing. And so him being left-handed, he's a good hitter. He's got a lot of at bats now under his belt as he's an older guy. So he's going to probably hit in the middle of the lineup.
On the college side, how into analytics and stat tracking and exit velocity, launch angle, all of that, how into those details are you guys at Washington State? Or is it, hey, hit the ball up the middle, focus on that type of old school approach?
Yeah, it's probably a mix. I think the information that we share with our players is a little bit old school, but we do use some analytics, especially on like defensive positioning and that type of stuff. I think if you just ignore analytics, then you're missing a part of the game and you're behind. But I think if you just rely solely on analytics, I think you're losing a feel for the game of baseball. So I do think it's a blend between the two. I do know this, that your exit velocity doesn't matter if you swing and miss. Like you can know on a BP fastball that it's 70 miles an hour and you have 114 mile an hour exit velocity with 21-inch launch angle, but you can't hit a breaking ball. So at that point, it really doesn't matter what your exit velocity is. So I think it's just really a blend of kind of some old school and some new school, some old school values with some new school tools, I would say.
And how about on the pitching side? And how into, adding a new pitch or pitch shaping do you guys get into with the guys?
Yeah, most guys at the college level, when they first come in here, whether it be junior college or high school, they're just they're pretty naive to the process and where they're at. And so they can't even command a fastball, but they want to throw like a seventh pitch. Like, hey, I want to throw this really cool splitter that I learned. Well, you can't throw your fastball 70% of the time where you want. So really hammering home the fundamentals and the basics of learning how to locate your fastball in the right spot, a two seam versus a four seam. And some of the answers that they give me from day one, I go, hey, they're not ready for stuff. I've had advanced guys that are a little bit older that can really command pitches where I'll give them their TrackMan data. They'll see the CSV file. They'll look at that kind of stuff and we'll go through it. It just really depends on where a guy's at in his development. We have TrackMan, we have all the tools, but not everybody gets fed all the food, right? It's kind of what you need. And a lot of guys, when they first get here, they can't even walk and chew gum at first. And so you start giving them some of that data, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm supposed to be worried about the spin axis on my slider or this or that. Well, like I said, you can't throw your fastball or even pick to first base or know the bunt defense. Let's kind of slow it down a little bit. So,
how important it is for you to have Will and also Griffin Myers back, two catchers that were in the program last year. Obviously you guys lose Grant Taylor. So are you kind of looking from your catching group to really kind of take some leadership with all these new influxes of arms?
Yeah, I think it's a really important part. I think in the college game, the catching position is the most important position on the field. It's the next closest thing to a coach. And so I think Will being a senior is huge. I think Noah, like I said, Thine has a really good feel for pitching and communicating. Griff, I think, he may catch some. He's been playing some outfield for us a little bit. And offensively, I think he's really going to help us offensively. He can really handle the bat. He takes good quality at bats. And so he does have some senior leadership and a presence to him. But yeah, I think it's really, really important for those guys because they've been through it. They can calm some guys down, understand like, hey, where they're at and what they're trying to do, and communicate that in game when a coach isn't there.
There's been some updates made to Bailey-brayton, the fan experience. There's also the new indoor complex. Right now in Pullman, it's 28 degrees. You got a season starting pretty soon. So can you talk to some of the upgrades that have been made on both of those sides?
Yeah, so the first thing this summer, we put in new turf in the infield. And for anybody that's ever played here, our turf at the last year was like a parking lot. So you'd hit a ball through the four hole in between the first and second baseman, and it'd be a triple, like in no time. And so it plays more like natural grass, which is a big deal, like the infield turf. And me being a pitching guy and trying to get some balls on the ground, I think that will be helpful. We have a new bullpen project that we had an alum, donate. It's got heaters, it's covered, it's got new lights. That's been massive for us to use where we're pitching outside, but it's covered when it's snowing. And then we have a new backstop netting project that was done, which I think we'll touch on the fan experience here in just a second, but that will help with sight lines and safety and all that. And then the Taylor Sports Complex, not just for baseball, but for every sport at Washington State. I mean, we got sports lining up to get in there. Right now we're going in there from 3 to 5, and soccer's after us, and track is in there before us. And so it has been a really, really impactful thing on our program. Last year, the bubble was down, and we were going into the rec center. Well, the rec center wouldn't let us throw a baseball in there. So we were in there in January with a tennis ball trying to do bunt defenses, and the guys were looking at me like, hey, coach, like, really? I mean, we got a tennis ball on a basketball court right now. So it has been really impactful that we can go in there and we can do almost everything in there that we could do outside. There's a couple things we can't, but I do think it's going to help us be more prepared from game one. And then the fan experience, like I said, the new netting project and new sight lines for the fans, more safety. All your drinks you could take to seats. So, the beer garden is going away. So people can go buy an adult beverage and now take it back to your seat and enjoy the game with great sight lines. I think that's a great thing for our fans to enjoy the, good baseball, good atmosphere. So
you mentioned a couple things you guys can't do in the Taylor Sports. Are you guys able to do live ABs in there?
We can't. There's no netting up top. But our cages are like 150 yards away outside. So we just walk outside. We hit in the cages. We can do live ABs in our cages in the Miller indoor that we have for baseball. And then we can do some defensive stuff and do some base running stuff as guys are throwing live. So really the only thing we can't do is just live ABs, but we can do some tracking stuff in there. We can do like some bunting stuff off of live pitching. So we can get enough done in there.
You have three big names that went to Washington State that are now currently playing in the big leagues. You got two relievers, one bat, and Kyle Manzardo. You got Ian Hamilton with the Yankees that made it to the World Series. Ryan Walker with the Giants. Can you talk
Now the
through those
closer.
guys? Yeah, can you talk through those guys? Maybe what that brings to the program as far as recruiting, or just kind of following those guys throughout the bigs.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that somebody from your program makes it to the big leagues, it's an exciting thing. And to have three guys in the big leagues, I think it shows that you can come here, have a great experience, win a lot of baseball games, develop, get better, and then go play in the big leagues, right? And so, some schools don't have that connection, and that's happened over the years of having big leaguers. John Olerud, there's an award in college baseball, the John Olerud, named after the best two-way player in the country, and he obviously played at Washington State. So those three guys, obviously I never coached them, but have spoken with them. I know players last year played with Manzardo. Some of our guys did. And so they were tracking him. They'd have a game on in our clubhouse, and they'd see him in an at-bat and get all excited. And so I think it just shows that there's a path to play really good baseball in college here, get a great degree, and then go play professionally and get to the big leagues and represent Washington State in a good way. So really, really cool thing.
You mentioned two ways. You just signed a two-way kid out of San Diego, Trevor Smith, and his older brother is a Division I second team All-American. That's a two-way player at USD as well. Over the last 15, 20 years, how have you seen the two-way spot get bigger and bigger and used more with players, and then the second part is touching on what Trevor can do on both sides of the ball.
Okay. Well, I can't really speak to Trevor yet because he, hasn't signed anything, so really can't touch anything like that. No, we're all good. But I will say we do like multi-sport athletes, guys that play football and baseball, right, and that type of thing. And with the roster limitations now changing to 34 in baseball, think about the value a two-way player brings. If you can bring a player in on scholarship and they can be an infielder and a pitcher and a hitter, right? It's obviously more value, more bang for your buck. So I think it's encouraged. And then, hey, the elephant in the room, let's talk about Shohei Ohtani. I mean, he's doing it at the highest level. Like, okay, if Shohei can do it, then why can't they do it in college? So I think for a while I got pretty specialized for about a 25, 30-year period. I think in the late 80s you had two-way guys. And then kind of in the 90s, early 2000s, it was, hey, you just pitch, you just do this. And I think it's kind of moving the needle back to, hey, two-way guys are kind of in vogue again and kind of encouraged. So
what are your thoughts on the new JUCO ruling and how that's going to affect Division I baseball?
Yeah, college baseball right now is older than it's ever been. The ruling as of now, like what we have been told, people that are seniors in our program that played at the junior college, they get an extra year. I think there's a little confusion as of right now. Like, does every junior college player have unlimited time? Do those years count? That could happen at some point, but as of now, that really hasn't impacted us. So the players that it would impact for us currently, Caden Wickersham, who's a senior, that played at a junior college, because of that ruling, he would have an extra year, but they haven't gone all in with all junior college players. If you're at a junior college now, I've heard talk, and I think this is probably a good rule, having 5 years to play 5 seasons, right? So I think that will probably go through eventually, and that makes some sense. I mean, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have a 29-year-old senior playing college baseball that played junior college for 2 years, redshirted for a year, medical redshirted for another year, and then he's 28 years old with 3 kids, and he's playing college baseball. I don't think that's what anybody intended. So I do think it needs to get cleaned up a little bit. But hopefully we'll get in the next year or two, we'll get some rules on the Wild Wild West here.
Now, I was listening to your introduction podcast the other week, kind of previewing the team, and one of your assistants mentioned that you have a connection to Alan Jaeger. I actually had Alan on the podcast talking long toss and arm care and all of that. So, can you walk me through your relationship with Alan? Maybe some of the behind the scenes of what you guys do for arm care. Do you long toss? Do you push that?
Yeah. So Alan and I've known Alan for a long, long time. If you've grown up in Southern California and you're a baseball guy, you've probably used the J-bands and a lot of his throwing programs. He used to, when I was at LMU, he lived right down the street from LMU. But yeah, obviously has done a lot of research on throwing. I like our guys to do a lot of long toss and stretch it out. And I think throwing more is a good thing. With the push on velocity now, Allen was always pushing throwing. It's good for your arm health and kind of listen to your arm, which is something I've always really admired and agreed with, is your arm's going to tell you like, hey, where you're at and all those types of things. I think with the velocity push now and velocity training, I think it's more important now that more than ever to play long toss. And so, Allen's affected a lot of, players' lives and had a really, really big impact. Joe Perez, when I hired him, Allen had given him my contact info when I was at Grand Canyon, and he had reached out, and that was kind of that connection, 12, 13 years ago.
One couple arms I wanted to touch on too before we get you out of here. Brock Blatter, Billings, Montana. He goes to Alabama, transfers to USC, and transfers to you guys. A big time pickup for the team. Do you expect him to be in a closer role, relief role? What's his expectation this year for you guys?
Yeah, so Brock was throwing the first or second week back in September. It was like 94, 95. Arm wasn't feeling great still. He had some arm injury, some issues in the spring at USC. Got him in. He had been pitching with a torn UCL since the spring. And so he had surgery. So he was 93, 95 with a partially torn UCL. So he ended up having surgery. He's redshirting this year. He'll be back next year. Really excited to have him help us next year. Awesome kid. Awesome family. Wish we had him this year, but we don't. But yeah, he has had surgery and he's in good spirits. He will help us next year.
And the other guy, you got some Dutch Connect in here, and you see with the World Baseball Classic and everything, it's just the game is growing expeditedly at the international level. And help me with his enunciation. Is it Ingmar Hutchison?
Yeah, Ingmar. Yep. So Ingmar, we got a call on Ingmar. Cal was recruiting Ingmar and trying to get him into school. And with some of the high school transcripts and the things that happened, people couldn't get him into school. And we don't stop, right? Like we just kept going and trying to find a way. And can we get him in this class? Could he take this summer class? Would this work? And basically, it was just us working our butt off trying to get him into school, and he's been really, really good. Plus stuff, like you said, baseball has become more international now than ever. Was first team all conference, was pitcher of the year in his junior college conference last year. So there's a little bit of a jump from the junior college to the Division I level, but the stuff is good. He'll help us in some capacity, whatever that role ends up being. But yeah, not afraid to recruit international players if they help us win baseball games.
Love that.
Awesome. Well, Coach Choate, really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on. Best of luck this season, and go Cougs.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Go Cougs.